4 months after starting a highly coveted job, I began to experience symptoms of fatigue and burnout. 3 months after that, my symptoms became so extreme that I had to quit. Years of not addressing perimenopause and menopause had taken their toll. Menopause isn't just a personal life stage, it's a workplace issue with big implications. Nearly 1 in 10 workers in the US is currently going through menopause, and that share will grow as an estimated 54 million women will be in menopause this year, 2025. In many offices, menopause remains a taboo topic, but ignoring it comes at a cost to women's well-being, to team productivity, to company performance, and even to the broader economy. In this video, we'll explore why supporting menopausal employees is not only the right thing to do, but a smart business decision. We'll dive into the impact of menopause on individuals and organizations, the business case for providing support, the financial and productivity stakes, and how the US compares to the UK on workplace menopause initiatives. Finally, we'll outline concrete steps companies can take to become menopause-friendly workplaces without framing it as a woke initiative, but as a practical strategy that benefits everyone. So, let's pull back the curtain on menopause at work and see why it matters for your business. Menopause is a natural transition usually occurring around age 45 to 55, when a woman stops having a period that often coincides with women's peak career years. The transition actually begins with perimenopause, a period of up to 10 years before menopause. Physically and mentally, perimenopause and menopause can be challenging. Symptoms can range from hot flashes and night sweats to insomnia, mood swings, anxiety, brain fog, and more. About 75% of women experience symptoms, and for roughly 1 in 4 women, the symptoms are severe enough to significantly affect their quality of life and work. These health challenges can erode a woman's confidence and energy at work. For example, a study found 2/3 of perimenopausal women reported problems like brain fog, fatigue, and mood changes. Yet, over 60% felt uninformed about menopause, highlighting how many struggle in silence, not fully understanding what's happening to them. At work, the impact can be profound. Many menopausal women report difficulty concentrating, reduced memory, or just not feeling on their game. It's common for sleep disturbances to leave them exhausted on the job. In fact, approximately 1 in 3 women reports moderate to severe difficulty managing their work due to menopause-related symptoms. This often translates to missed time. A global survey of over 8,000 women found up to 40% reported missing a few days to a full week of work every month because of menopausal symptoms. Even being physically present doesn't always mean being productive. 38% of women in one study admitted to presenteeism, working while not fully functional due to menopause symptoms. These struggles can be embarrassing, leading many to hide symptoms from colleagues or managers. The result is that most menopausal employees suffering at work don't tell anyone or seek adjustments, largely due to stigma and privacy concerns. This silence can amplify their difficulties and stress. The effects extend to colleagues and teams as well. When a valued team member is frequently absent, feeling ill, or operating below her usual capacity, the whole team feels it. Work may need to be reassigned or deadlines pushed, and colleagues might not understand why their teammate is withdrawing or having off days. Lack of awareness can even breed insensitive jokes or frustration. In short, untreated menopause symptoms can quietly undermine team dynamics. But with open conversation and support, this doesn't have to happen. One UK survey noted that encouraging openness and removing stigma were key things employees wanted from employers, so co-workers can be understanding rather than in the dark. For companies, the cumulative impact is serious. Menopause symptoms can lead to significant lost productivity and talent strain. Absenteeism adds up. If nearly 40% of women are missing days regularly, that's a lot of work hours lost. According to a 2023 survey, 13% of women have quit their jobs and 15% have considered quitting due to menopausal symptoms. That means roughly 1 in 4, or 28% of women, have felt compelled to leave or think about leaving a job to escape menopause-related difficulties. And this isn't just lower-level staff. The same survey found this trend actually worsened at higher ranks. 31% of female supervisors, 36% of mid-level female managers, and a startling 43% of senior executive women had either left a job or thought about leaving due to menopause. These are often highly experienced employees at the peak of their expertise. Losing them means losing institutional knowledge, leadership potential, and diversity in the upper ranks. The personal struggles of menopause can snowball into a significant workforce and economic issue if we fail to address them. So let's consider the business case for menopause support. Given these impacts, supporting employees through menopause isn't just altruism, it's smart business strategy. Companies invest in employee wellness and engagement for good reason. Supported employees perform better and stay longer. Menopause support is a perfect example of an initiative that can yield multiple organizational benefits. First, consider employee retention. As noted, a significant number of women consider quitting because of menopause. Replacing an experienced employee is expensive. Estimates range from about half to 2 times the employee's annual salary in recruiting, training, and lost productivity costs. If a company can prevent even a few of those departures, it saves money. More importantly, it retains knowledgeable, skilled employees who are likely in mid or senior roles. These women have built client relationships and internal expertise over decades. Losing them hurts. Supporting them through a temporary life transition helps preserve that talent pipeline. In 2024, I wrote a paper suggesting that unaddressed perimenopausal symptoms are a likely contributor to an only 20% representation of women in the C-suite. I call this the perimenopause broken rung hypothesis. It turns out, one financial industry study in the UK found that menopause symptoms were a key hidden factor in the leaky leadership pipeline, with many women opting out of promotions or leaving early. Nearly half of women surveyed in that study felt less likely to apply for promotions or take on extra responsibilities due to the severity of their menopause symptoms, and a quarter were more likely to leave the workforce before retirement. By providing support, companies like Standard Chartered, which commissioned that study, aim to keep more women in contention for senior leadership rather than see them quietly step aside. Think about productivity and performance. Helping employees manage symptoms means they can perform closer to their full potential. Simple accommodations like flexible scheduling or the ability to work from home on tough days can reduce absenteeism. The math is compelling. If 40% of women were missing days before, imagine cutting that in half. That's a lot of recovered work time. Indeed, companies that have introduced menopause support report positive outcomes. For example, British broadcaster Channel 4 launched a menopause policy in 2019. In a recent employee survey, 10% of female staff said they have used or plan to use the menopause support on offer, and 78% of all staff, women and men, said they feel more positive about the company as a place to work as a result. In other words, the policy not only helped those directly affected, but boosted overall staff morale and loyalty. A more menopause-friendly culture can foster greater employee engagement and job satisfaction, which translates to better teamwork and innovation. It's no surprise that research shows age-diverse teams benefit companies. As one UK official put it, businesses lose out when older workers drop out of the labor market. age diversity can bring huge benefits as well as experience and expertise. Supporting women through menopause helps maintain that age diversity and experience. Reducing absenteeism and presenteeism, which is working while unwell, also improves the bottom line. If an employee can get treatment for her symptoms, say hormone therapy to control hot flashes, or counseling for anxiety, she may miss fewer days and work more effectively. In the US alone, companies lose an estimated $1.8 billion in productivity each year from workdays lost to menopause symptoms, according to a Mayo Clinic study. Addressing these symptoms could recoup much of that lost productivity. And beyond just days missed, consider quality of work. An employee who isn't exhausted from insomnia or who can think clearly because her brain fog is treated will simply do better work. That boosts output and potentially customer service or sales depending on her role. There's also a legal and risk management angle to consider. In the UK again, menopause-related tribunal cases have popped up, with women suing employers for not accommodating menopausal symptoms under discrimination laws. In the US, menopause isn't explicitly protected, but severe symptoms could arguably fall under disability protections. Forward-thinking employers see supporting menopausal women as analogous to supporting any health condition. It's better to proactively accommodate them than to face grievances or lose a valued employee to a competitor that will. Finally, the goodwill and employer branding gained by menopause support is significant. Companies increasingly strive to be seen as inclusive and caring employers. Menopause has been called the last taboo of women's health. By breaking that taboo, employers demonstrate genuine commitment to employee well-being, not just the trendy issues. This can enhance a company's reputation and help attract and retain talent across all demographics. Younger employees notice when their workplace respects older colleagues. Male employees notice when their female teammates are supported, and it can improve overall team culture. When unemployment is low, offering unique benefits can set an employer apart. Just as some companies attracted talent by adding fertility benefits or mental health resources, menopause support is now becoming a sought-after perk. A recent survey found that over 70% of women would stay at a company that offers supportive health benefits in areas like fertility and, by extension, menopause. It's a competitive edge to show you value employees at every life stage. In short, the business case is clear. By supporting menopausal employees, companies can retain experienced talent, reduce costs associated with turnover and absenteeism, boost productivity, and improve morale and loyalty. It's an investment that pays off in employee output and commitment. And importantly, it's about treating people right, which tends to pay dividend in the long run through a positive, productive workplace culture. Let's now consider the financial and productivity costs of ignoring menopause, aka doing nothing. To truly understand why this issue demands attention, let's look at the hard numbers on what happens when employers do nothing. Research shows that untreated menopause symptoms are exacting a heavy financial toll on businesses and the economy. Consider the landmark Mayo Clinic study that tried to quantify these effects. It found that menopause symptoms cost the US economy at least $26 billion a year. That figure includes direct medical costs and lost productivity. Breaking it down, as we said earlier, about $1.8 billion is lost annually just from women missing workdays due to menopause. On top of that, there is an estimated $24 to $25 billion spent on medical expenses for treating menopause-related issues, which includes doctor visits, medications, etc. And even this $26 billion per year is likely an underestimate. The researchers noted that they did not factor in things like women reducing their hours, taking lesser paying jobs, retiring early, or productivity losses from working while symptomatic. When you consider those indirect effects, the real cost could be far higher. These billions are essentially the price of silence and inaction, costs that could be mitigated with better support and workplace arrangements. On an individual company level, the costs show up in absenteeism rates and turnover. We've mentioned that nearly 1/3 of women in some surveys said they took time off because of menopause. If an employee misses even 5 days a year for menopause, which is very conservative if she's having issues monthly, that's a 2% hit to her annual productivity. Multiple that across hundreds or thousands of employees, and it becomes significant. Presenteeism is harder to measure, but potentially even costlier. An employee working at half capacity for months on end due to brain fog or migraines is effectively a half-time employee while being paid full salary. That drag on productivity can quietly erode team output and service quality. Now think about turnover costs. When women leave because they feel unsupported, companies incur all the expenses of recruiting, hiring, and training a replacement, plus the lost productivity while the role is unfilled or a new hire ramps up. As noted, replacing a mid-career employee can cost around 50 to 150% of their salary. And some industries may lose clients or sales when a long-standing employee departs. If a quarter of menopausal women are leaving jobs, that's a massive talent and financial drain industry-wide. Going back to the UK, there's an estimated 900,000 women that leave jobs due to menopause, and that suggests a huge economic loss once you factor in hiring costs and productivity from those vacancies. No organization wants to be part of that brain drain if they can help it. There's also a macroeconomic impact. Women in their 40s and 50s are often at their peak earning potential. If they downshift careers or drop out, their earnings and thus spending and tax contributions decrease. This can shrink the consumer base for certain markets and widen gender pension gaps. If a woman leaves at 50 due to menopause, she might lose out on 5 to 10 years of prime earnings and 401k contributions, affecting her retirement stability. A Bank of America report highlighted a clear disconnect in workplaces. HR leaders often think they're addressing menopause, but employees aren't actually getting support. The result of the disconnect is money left on the table in the form of lost work and higher healthcare claims. In short, failing to support menopausal women has a measurable cost in absentee days, in higher healthcare spend, in turnover expenses, and in lost productivity. These costs directly affect a company's bottom line. Conversely, relatively small investments can yield a strong ROI by avoiding these losses. As Dr. Stephanie Faubion of Mayo Clinic bluntly stated, the takeaway for employers is that there is a critical need to address this issue for women in the workplace. Businesses that ignore menopause are effectively bleeding money slowly, whereas those that tackle it can convert a portion of the $26 billion into savings and gains. So let's see how the workplace policies on menopause compare between the US and UK. It's important to note that not all countries or companies have approached menopause at work with equal urgency. Certainly, the UK has emerged as a leader in recognizing and addressing menopause as a workplace issue, whereas the US is only beginning to catch up. This contrast offers some valuable lessons. A great example of progressive policy, again, is Standard Chartered, a global bank headquartered in London. They recently implemented a comprehensive menopause support policy across its worldwide operations. All employees, regardless of gender, and their partners now have access to medical coverage for menopause-related treatment under the company's health plan. They rolled this out globally in 2023-2024, covering 2/3 of staff by late 2023 and expected to cover everyone by 2024. What does this mean in practice? It means if a Standard Chartered employee is struggling with menopause symptoms, she can consult specialists and get prescription treatments like hormone therapy paid for by insurance, a huge relief for many. But Standard Chartered didn't just stop at insurance. They introduced menopause toolkits, conversation guides for managers, counseling support, e-learning modules, and internal events to raise awareness. In the US, by contrast, explicit menopause policies are still rare. though interest is rising. Culturally, menopause hasn't been a prominent workplace topic in America until very recently. There are some signs of change, though. A 2022 survey noted that about 1 in 5 US workers believe their employer is aware of menopause as an issue, but historically, it's been swept under the rug. No US federal or state laws specifically address menopause at work, so it's been up to employers to decide if they want to act. As of 2023, only a handful of US companies had announced menopause-related benefits. For example, Microsoft and the pharmaceutical company Sanofi began offering menopause support in 2023, joining the ranks of early movers. Tech giants like Adobe and Nvidia have also added menopause benefits, though interestingly, they rolled them out for their employees in Europe first, where the expectation was higher, before extending it to US staff. We are starting to see fertility and family benefits packages in the US expand to include menopause as part of comprehensive women's health. A recent analysis reported that about 15% of employers now offer or plan to offer specific menopause benefits in 2024, up from just 4% in 2023. That's rapid growth, but it's still a small minority, meaning the vast majority of US workplaces have no formal menopause support yet. Why the lag in the US? Partly stigma. Menopause has long been a hush-hush topic. In an AARP survey, around 38% of workers said menopause is not discussed at their workplace at all, and over half of women felt they couldn't talk about it openly. Another study highlighted a perception gap. 76% of HR managers in the US said they at least sometimes discuss menopause with employees, but only 3% of women employees said they have ever discussed menopause with HR. That's a huge disconnect, implying that whatever US HR departments think they're doing isn't yet reaching employees in any meaningful way. However, the recent tight US labor market and focus on diversity and inclusion have prompted change, even if there is some uncertainty now due to the political atmosphere. Forward-looking firms recognize that if they want to retain mid-career female talent and perhaps attract seasoned hires, they need to address this gap. For instance, Genentech, a major biotech company, recently started offering menopause support as a benefit, framing it as part of their talent retention strategy. The US is essentially where the UK was a few years ago. Awareness is growing, a few pioneers are setting the example, and we are likely to see a wave of others follow suit as the conversation becomes more normalized. It's also worth noting that in the US, the approach might get folded into existing wellness programs or healthcare plans rather than standalone menopause policies. American companies might frame it under general health, which is fine as long as the support is there. The key point is that the UK shows what good can look like: open dialogue, leadership commitment, formal policies, manager training, and benefits changes. And the US has an opportunity to learn and leapfrog ahead by implementing best practices now. How can companies then support menopausal employees without the woke label? What exactly can businesses do to become more menopause-friendly? How can they do it in a way that feels practical and applicable in any corporate environment? I have some concrete suggestions and strategies. Number 1, break the silence. Start the conversation. The first step is to normalize talking about menopause at work. This doesn't mean everyone needs to share personal details. It means creating an environment where the topic isn't taboo. Companies can provide education and awareness training for all employees. For example, lunch and learn sessions or HR-led discussions explaining what menopause is, common symptoms, and how it can affect work. Include men and younger employees too. Menopause shouldn't be a mystery. The goal is to build empathy and understanding, just as workplaces have done around mental health or parental leave in recent years. When people realize menopause is a common life stage affecting half the population, it removes stigma. An open culture ensures that a woman suffering symptoms doesn't feel she has to hide it or suffer alone. As one HR leader put it, we need to acknowledge we can talk about it openly and accept that this directly impacts someone's well-being and career. And simply putting menopause on the agenda in internal newsletters, in management trainings, sends a powerful message that it's okay to discuss this here. Second, train managers and HR to offer support. It's crucial that managers know how to respond if a team member discloses menopause-related difficulties. Managers don't need to be medical experts, but they should be aware of the basic symptoms and the company resources available. Training can teach managers to recognize signs of possible menopause distress, like a normally punctual employee starting to come in late due to morning fatigue, or an even-keeled employee showing uncharacteristic anxiety. Managers should learn to have sensitive private conversations. For example, "I've noticed you seem a bit down or unwell lately. Is there anything you need or any way we can help?" Opening the door for the employee to mention menopause if she wants. They should also be taught what accommodations are possible, flex time, etc., so they can respond with solutions. Many UK firms have created menopause champions or advocates on staff. These are often employees or managers who volunteer to get extra training and serve as point people. A US company could do similarly or ensure HR has a few go-to specialists. The bottom line is to equip leaders with knowledge and empathy so that if a woman reaches out for help, she meets understanding instead of awkward silence or dismissal. Third, update policies and benefits. You don't necessarily need a standalone menopause policy, although it's great if you do. You can also just integrate menopause support into your existing frameworks. For instance, ensure your health insurance covers menopause-related treatment. This might include coverage for hormone replacement therapy, HRT, relevant medications, specialist consultations, and even alternative therapies if they are evidence-based. Check that your Employee Assistance Program, your EAP, offers counseling that can address menopause, stress, mood swings, etc. Many EAP counselors can, if aware. Some companies are now contracting with specialty providers like telehealth platforms focused on women's health to give employees direct access to menopause experts. Look at your leave and flexible work policies. Do they allow for the reality of menopause? Perhaps treat menopause symptoms as a legitimate reason for sick leave. Managers should know that an employee isn't playing hooky if she calls in sick due to a migraine or severe hot flashes. Or consider offering a few extra days of well-being leave that could be used for menopause or any health issue. Flexible hours or remote work options can be a game changer. If someone has been up all night with insomnia, letting her start late or work from home that day means she doesn't have to lose the whole day. Ensure these accommodations are written into policy or guidance so employees feel entitled to use them rather than feeling they're asking for special treatment. In physically demanding jobs or those with uniforms, say a manufacturing line or retail, allow practical adjustments. For example, access to water and fans, permission to take brief breaks to cool down, or lighter weight uniforms. These small tweaks can prevent a hot flash from becoming a meltdown or a safety risk. Fourth, provide resources and support networks. In addition to formal benefits, provide informational resources. This could be an internal web page or handbook about menopause with symptoms, tips, and contacts for help. Some organizations create toolkits and conversation guides, which employees can share with their managers to help explain what they're going through and what adjustments might help. Encourage the formation of employee resource groups, ERGs, or informal support circles for menopausal and perimenopausal women. Sometimes just being able to talk with colleagues who are going through the same thing is immensely helpful. It validates one's experience and lets women swap coping strategies or doctor referrals. These groups can also invite guest speakers like health professionals for educational sessions, including younger women who want to learn, and male allies like husbands or colleagues of menopausal women can foster a supportive community. By making menopause a normal topic, you take away its power to isolate. Peer support and mentorship, like "I went through that last year, here's what helped me," can be as important as any formal benefit. 5. Emphasize confidentiality and choice. One reason women don't speak up is fear of professional repercussions or embarrassment. Employers must assure employees that any health disclosure, including menopause, will be handled confidentially and respectfully, just as you would handle, say, an employee discussing or disclosing a chronic illness. HR should treat menopause-related discussions as private medical information. It's also important to give women control over who knows about their situation. Some may be comfortable telling their direct manager, others might prefer going through HR. Provide channels for both. Also, make it clear that using menopause support benefits will not label someone as a problem employee. Leadership should reinforce that these accommodations are there to help good employees remain productive, not to question their abilities. When these reassurances come from the top, it helps dispel the fear that taking a menopause day off will hurt one's career. Sixth, avoid woke washing. Frame it as smart business and basic support. In implementing these measures, use straightforward business-friendly language. This is not about jumping on any political bandwagon. It's about addressing a genuine workforce health issue. Frame menopause support as you would any wellness initiative, a logical step to maintain employee health, productivity, and retention. Emphasize statistics and outcomes, not just empathy. For example, you might communicate to executives that by introducing this, we aim to reduce the loss of experienced employees and save X amount of dollars in recruitment costs. Or, we anticipate improved productivity and engagement from a segment of our workforce that currently underperforms due to unmanaged health symptoms, or something better than that. Or, we anticipate improved productivity and engagement from certain segments of our workforce that may not be able to perform at their full potential at the moment due to unmanaged health symptoms. It's akin to how companies support employees with, let's say, diabetes by providing sugar-free snacks or insurance coverage for insulin. Menopause is another health matter, not a political statement. Also underline that menopause isn't just a women's issue, it's a business issue. When female employees suffer, the whole team's output suffers. Conversely, when they're supported, everyone benefits. There's less strain on co-workers to cover absences, and managers retain key team members. By keeping the tone practical and results-oriented, you can introduce these policies in even the most conservative corporate cultures without it being seen as a woke or niche agenda. It simply becomes part of good management practice and employee wellness. Lead from the top and normalize from bottom up. Have senior leaders endorse the initiative. It makes a huge difference if, say, your VP of HR or a respected executive saying, "We are doing this because we value our people and want them to have long, successful careers here." Even better, if there are high-level women willing to briefly share their menopause story, or high-level men acknowledging their wives' or colleagues' experiences, it can break the stigma. On the ground, encourage team-level dialogues. It could be as simple as including menopause in diversity or health workshops. When leadership and grassroots efforts meet in the middle, the culture change solidifies. Remember, the goal is not to single out menopause as something requiring drastic intervention, but to fold it into your existing commitment to employee health and inclusion, because it's the right thing to do and it makes business sense. By taking these steps, a company of any size can become more menopause-friendly relatively quickly. Many of these measures cost little to nothing: flexible hours, free information sessions, etc. And even the ones that do have costs, like health benefits, are increasingly seen as worthwhile investments, especially as more data emerges on the cost of ignoring menopause. So, in conclusion, here is my call to action. Menopause will affect half of humanity, and millions of working women are going through it at this very moment. It's time for businesses, especially in the US, to stop treating menopause as invisible and start treating it as the very real workplace factor that it is. The evidence is overwhelming. Addressing menopause at work leads to healthier employees, stronger teams, and better business outcomes. Conversely, ignoring it leads to absenteeism, talent flight, and needless costs. For too long, menopause has been shrouded in silence and stigma. But as we've seen, forward-thinking companies and entire countries are breaking that silence and reaping the rewards. The UK experience shows that treating menopause openly and supportively is not only possible, it's beneficial for all. There's no reason the US and the rest of the world can't follow suit. This is not about being politically correct. It's about doing right by your employees and your bottom line. When a woman who has given 20 to 30 years to her career hits menopause, she shouldn't feel pushed to the sidelines or out the door. She should feel valued and supported to continue excelling for many years beyond. So, if you're a business leader or HR professional, consider this your call to action. Look into your workforce demographics. Chances are a significant portion is either currently experiencing menopause or will in the coming years. Engage with them, survey their needs, and you might be surprised at the honest feedback. Many will say, "We've been waiting for this support." Build a business case with data, as I've provided in here. To get buy-in, start with some quick wins like manager training and basic accommodations, and build up to enhanced benefits or formal policies. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Examples from Standard Chartered, Microsoft, and others provide a roadmap. To those worrying that this taboo is too sensitive or not a priority, the cost of doing nothing is far greater than the effort to do something. Every employee who leaves or underperforms because we failed to help is a loss we can prevent. And to the women out there silently struggling, you are not alone, and it's okay to speak up. The more voices that push for change, the faster companies will act. Imagine a workplace where a woman can casually say to her boss, "I had a rough night due to menopause. Can I work from home this morning?" And the boss responds, "Of course, take care," without judgment, just understanding. That simple courtesy could make the difference between an employee who feels forced to quit and one who feels committed to stay and give her best. That is not a far-fetched dream. It's a reality already happening in the best organizations. Supporting menopausal employees is both a moral imperative and a strategic advantage. It honors the contributions of seasoned women in the workforce and enables them to continue contributing at a high level. It builds a culture of trust and loyalty. And it saves money by reducing turnover and keeping productivity high. In the end, menopause support at work boils down to a basic principle: take care of your people and they will take care of your business. It's time for every employer to recognize that and act accordingly. So let's make menopause support the new norm in workplace wellness. Whether you're in San Diego, New York, or London, a big firm or a small business, you can take steps today to become a menopause-friendly workplace. The research is in, and the case studies are convincing, and the human stories, they are compelling. Now is the moment to move from awareness to action. By doing so, you'll not only do right by a lot of employees who have earned that support, you'll also strengthen your organization for the long run. That's a win-win worth pursuing. Menopause is a natural phase of life. Let's ensure it gets natural support at work. The right thing to do is also the smart thing to do, and that's a business decision you'll never regret. If you found value in this discussion, take it back to your workplace, start the conversation, share the data, and advocate for change. Encourage your company to join the growing ranks of those making menopause support a priority. And if you're already in a position of influence, be the champion this issue needs. Together, we can create workplaces where everyone at every stage of life can thrive. It's good for employees, good for business, and absolutely the right thing to do. So let's make it happen.